speaking of the 911 system, Lori, boy, we started with 911 several years ago. I'm sure you'll tell us when it started. And it's not the 911 it was 15 years ago. It's much more sophisticated, isn't it?
Absolutely. First of all, Luke, thank you for allowing me to be here today. I really appreciate the opportunity. For those that aren't familiar with the 911 program, we have 3 jobs. We convene all of the 911 stakeholders of the public and private sector to bring them together to decide for themselves how to move forward on issues that are important to them. We collect and create resources for the folks at the state and local level that actually operate the nation's 911 system. And we administer a grant program specifically for the upgrade of the technology of 911, which is really old. But we're showing signs of progress. I mean, to give you just a couple examples from this past year, during the pandemic, we did a lot of work to support the 911 centers. They didn't have a continuity of operations plan for infectious diseases. And so we pulled groups together. They're used to like outages and, infrastructure kinds of outages, but they're not used to this kind of thing. So we pulled them together to develop that kind of a plan, which ultimately was translated into Spanish and shared among 30 or 35 countries in Central and South America. The 911 centers also showed an enormous amount of ingenuity in basically setting up ad hoc methods to divert low acuity calls for medical service because they were becoming inundated. And sometimes they stood up these systems within, 1 or 2 days. So they showed an enormous amount of innovation and ingenuity. On the broader scale, the states are really making progress in terms of improving and their infrastructure to a digital internet-based infrastructure, which will allow them to use multimedia images, and it allows them to connect, which means that there's a level of resilience that just wasn't there in the old system. They're making progress, not as quickly as we would like, but they continue to make progress. And there are also states that are now in the process of figuring out how they're going to interconnect with their neighboring states. Because ultimately what we want to end up with is an interconnected system of system. So there are pockets of that in at least 6 places in the United States. And so we're encouraged by that. There's a lot of progress that's going on.